Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar entitled Building Green Together, Local Innovations Driving Global Change. I have to start by welcoming you all. We will wait 1 to 2 minutes before starting the time for all the attendees to join. And also I have to disclaim that this session is recorded and we will disseminate it into GlobalABC and ICLEI channels. Thank you. So I'll see you in 1 minute. Hello again, welcome to the webinar entitled We're Building Green Together, Local Innovations Driving Global Change. This webinar is co-organized by UNEP, GlobalABC, GIZ, ICLEI, and I'm pleased now to give the floor for a word of introduction from Gunnar Arol, Head of Cities Unit at UNEP and co-lead of the GlobalABC Subnationals Action Group. Gunnar, please.
Thank you so much, Sepki Malia, and dear colleagues, welcome to this webinar. It is organized under the Global Alliance for Buildings and Construction, which is a global platform for governments, national governments, private sector, civil society research. So there are over 340 members, including 60 governments, who are part of the Global Alliance. And it's really bringing everybody together to accelerate transformation of the building and construction sector to become more resilient, climate resilient, and decarbonized. So, and the Global Alliance has multiple thematic work streams. And last year at the Global Forum on Buildings and Climate, which took place in Paris, we launched the work. I mean, there was a local forum of local governments organized. And this year, we launched the action group on subnational governments and stakeholders as a part of the GlobalABC. This is very important because, of course, speaking about the sector decarbonization, we work usually with the national governments, but implementation is taking place at the local level with cities and regions. And 70% of responsibilities over climate actions are actually on the local level. So this local climate action is very, very important. So establishing this action group under GlobalABC was really important to, first of all, highlight the importance, but also start doing very specific actions. So I'm very excited about the seminar. So today morning, we already had the morning session for colleagues who were in other time zone. And there were very interesting presentations from two cities. One is from India, another is from African region. So this afternoon, we're expecting as well as much exciting as much it was in the morning. And the subnational, I think this, the very good thing about the Subnational Action Group is that it is something which brings together so many different organizations. We have many organizations as partners to the Subnational Action Group, including the UN agencies, cities networks, research organizations, and of course the local and regional governments. And I would like to use this opportunity to thank our colleagues. So this National Action Group is actually co-led by UN Habitat. So Lea Ranalder, hopefully she will be closing this meeting. GIZ, Carmen Vogt is representing GIZ as co-lead, and ICLEI, Marike van Standen, who will be speaking today as well. She's also representing one of co-lead from ICLEI side. So as we are going towards all important events towards COP30, This discussion is very, very important. And I think what unites all of us, also you participants, is really interest to bring the subnational governments into the decision-making on the climate change policies. So really excited to hear today from our colleagues, experts, and especially here the report will be presented by Marika. And now I would like to give floor to Carmen. And again, Carmen, big thanks for your support and the support of your ministry for actually also financially supporting coordination of this action group at the period where we're developing the action plan. So Carmen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gulnara, for your opening remarks, and a very warm welcome also from my side to all of you who are joining this launch webinar today. I'm Carmen Vogt. I'm working at GIZ headquarters, heading the section department on cities, and sustainable construction is one of our priorities in our global work, and also all links to climate and implementation. So it is really great to see you interested in this topic, and also the ways and examples on enhancing the decarbonization of the built environment as a subnational level. 2025 is or can be a very important year for subnational climate action in cities, as the COP30 in Belém is considered the COP of cities, and specifically the Amazon cities. And in this regard, in the first letter in March, the COP president invited stakeholders and leaders beyond the UNFCCC family, the climate stakeholders, but also invited many more from subnational governments to join the global achievement on climate commitments. And this means that a global effort of cooperation and among peoples against climate change and for progress of humanity is also important as a local level. In this regard, we think that the significant role of subnational stakeholders is increasingly recognized by political partners at national and international level. And we are also looking forward to another urban ministerial meeting at COP30, where also the topic of buildings and construction will be on the table. This is also true for the buildings and construction sector. Gulnara already mentioned that members of the GlobalABC established this subnational action group last year, specifically to facilitate dialogue, to foster our exchange among not only individuals and stakeholders, but also institutions and countries, and also to highlight the local solutions and what can be done and achieved for a just and inclusive transition towards a decarbonized and resilient buildings and construction sector. GIZ is one of the founding members, and I'm very honored to be part of this group of co-leads. It's always a pleasure to work with Lea, Gulnara, and Mareike. All of them are so actively involved in playing a great part also to bring the subnational approach forward. GIZ is also a strong and committed partner in this much needed global buildings transition, I would say. And many projects worldwide we are implementing together with our partners are focusing on mainly integrated solutions also to link, for example, the building sector with the climate achievements, but also to link it to local economic approaches and so on. and also to consider always strong multi-stakeholder and level partnerships, and our specific focus at the implementing level at GIZ is really targeting financing and the policy support and public-private partnership collaboration. This is in the core of our work in the field, on the implementing side, and so on. But this can only be achieved with the support and engagement of subnational governments, and of course also with the support of the national level. This we can see in the NDC processes and also the implementing plans, how to link the national with the subnational level, and the CHAMP initiative is one example to realize this. So in this regard, the national roadmaps towards zero carbon and resilient buildings can lead to a fast and significant impacts. And I think that strong and innovative financing mechanisms are absolutely crucial to close the gap between planning and implementation. And we want to learn from concrete examples, as already mentioned. And in this regard, ICLEI did a great work collecting many activities and projects and experiences in the area of the building sector at a subnational level. And I think this is also important, also to get in dialogue with international and national decision makers, to convince and to discuss on the importance of subnational consultation involvement, and also how cities can contribute to the buildings transition. And so in this regard, the new GlobalABC report that we are jointly launching today is one great document where you will find many inspiring cases from around the globe, and also with completely different approaches and entry points. Just to close, I would like to underline that collaboration, innovation, and EP exchange across the globe is absolutely important to accelerate the transition to net zero carbon buildings. And I'm very much looking forward to our exchange today, but also beyond. If you have questions or if you're interested in further projects, please approach us here from the Subnational Working Group. We are very happy to get your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you very much, Gulnara, for those thorough introductions. I wouldn't have wished more for a better introduction of the report from Carmen. So Marieke van Staden, director at ICLEI, will now tell us more on the key opportunities, strategies, and recommendations for multi-level actions in the buildings and construction sectors. Marieke, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malia. And thanks, Gulnara, Carmen. It's a real pleasure to work in this very powerful team. So my name is Marieke van Staden. I'm the director of ICLEI's Carbon Climate Center, overseeing our climate and energy work. And it is with absolute pleasure today that I am presenting to you the new report called Local Solutions for Green Buildings and Construction, accelerated through multi-level action and partnership. Now, the GlobalABC looks at building and construction, and this is one of our first publications specifically looking at subnational, but also the partnership space. Let me take you through the actual report. We're not going to look at the level of extreme detail, but I do want to also thank all the collaborators, and in particular also Nida as the co-lead author, and all the reviewers who've been really putting in a lot of work. And certainly a huge shout out and thanks to the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development from the German government, the BMZ, and the support of the GIZ. Much appreciated. Without that, we would not have been able to launch and create this report for you. Now, what are we aiming for in this report? We really want to inform and inspire government representatives at all levels, as well as planners, investors, NGOs, and civil society, but certainly don't forget the private sector. So there are so many opportunities for collective action to decarbonize and enhance resilience, but also to bring in the just transition and equity into the sector where there is indeed a great need for those aspects as well. We're looking at showing the power of multi-level, but also multi-partnership action. So multi-level is looking at different levels of government, multi-partner, that collective that I've mentioned before. And in the wrap-up, I will give a few recommendations for key stakeholder groups. But if you look at the report, we actually have quite a lot of recommendations. So do indeed take a look at the actual report. Now, let's look at the facts and figures. The building and construction sector accounts for about 34% energy-related carbon dioxide emissions and 32% of energy demand, which is a huge chunk. And there's a lot we potentially can do in this space if we are more clever, more efficient, more innovative in our design and approach. But it's not just about emissions and resilience. It's also looking at the social impact. All of us live in buildings. Most of us live in buildings and work in buildings. And this is a space for job creation. For example, we can create up to 30 jobs per million invested in green retrofits. And 80% of cities worldwide do not yet have affordable housing options for the majority of their population. So that's a critical area that requires action. And if you look at the health, through adequate housing, one can add 2.54 years of additional life expectancy of humans. So again, very much a people-centered approach that we're looking at. If we're looking at the role of subnational governments, of subnational states, regions, provinces, and local level, they are mostly investing at this stage. About 70% of climate-relevant public investment comes from that level of government. But we need trillions to actually move. So we need blended finance. We need the private sector on board as well. Now, when we conceptualized the document, it was for us quite important to look at the people, the place, the resources, but also the territory. So you're looking at your areas of enhanced action address exactly that. The just transition principles really address people. We should not forget it. We should actually be more inclusive of low income and marginalized communities, looking at the impact on workers, making sure that this is a healthy, livable space. We need meaningful or more meaningful participation and equity, as well as social inclusion in the conceptualization and the use of our buildings and construction space, and certainly more women in leadership positions, more skills to be put into the space to ensure access to finance as well. Without access to finance, nothing will move. So that's quite a key space for putting in our energy. Let's look at energy use in buildings. Of course, having good, robust policies, modern building codes are key. And I think many national governments can easily step in there. We actually do need the national level to look at those codes and the local level to enforce the codes. But we need aligned policies in that space as well. Through prioritizing retrofit of existing buildings and including passive design. So using natural lighting, natural ventilation, we can also save costs in that sense. So that is also a clear, interesting strategy, looking at it from a financial perspective. And last but not least, we must bring in renewable energy integration into buildings. That just is a logical step for clean, green energy to be included. Switching to resources. The circularity approaches, I think, are underestimated, under-highlighted, and we will also hear one of the case studies in addressing this particular area. But we need to reduce raw material demand. Our resources are finite. We do not have enough resources to waste. So let's be more efficient, looking at the whole life cycle approach, promoting reuse and recovery as we switch to low carbon materials and regenerative materials like wood. The fourth focus here is really interesting if you're looking at the whole territory. So let's zoom out. Planning for climate adaptation, we know the impacts will be stepped up. They will be more impactful and harmful climate impacts. So we need to look at urban resilience and people resilience. So here we can look easily at informal settlements that can be upgraded with more resilient and affordable housing. There are massive informal settlements that are at risk and should be addressed in this case. And let's also look at combining grey and green-blue infrastructure from the start. With your planning process already, we can be more efficient in the way we integrate and do the planning and actually have a more impactful application of the approaches we take. And last but not least, also don't forget about water, waste, energy systems, integrating and adapting all of these systems, not just looking at the individual building design. Now, I've touched on a few of the enabling factors, but let's run through them quickly. We put multi-level governance at the top because clearly policies will move this on a bigger scale, and we're looking at efficiencies. The national, regional, and local alignment of policies and actions can and is actually needed to make sure we move forward in this space effectively. But we cannot only work through government. We do need those multi-stakeholder partnerships, in particular private sector, civil society, working with government. So we're looking at whole of society to collectively step in here. The terminology gets quite technical. Vertical and horizontal integration, what does that actually mean? It means bringing the plans together. The vertical integration, different plans need to speak to each other. Ideally, you have a national roadmap that can also be implemented. We have, Carmen mentioned the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions. We also have national adaptation plans, and these need to be brought forward to make sure that they're connecting and actually being implemented at the local level, with financing attached to that. Horizontal integration, as I mentioned before, you have energy, water, waste, buildings, transport, all of these can connect it and should connect also across value chains. Now, the strategic frameworks that can be set, and these are also being implemented at the moment, definitely guide the implementation of near zero energy efficient building practices. And without money, nothing will move. So get the financial enabling factors as well. What we like to use the example of a public-private people partnership. So your people angle brings in that justice, the equity angle. And let's use our financing, the limited financing available in a very strategic way through blending public and private financing. We will zoom in on 2 case studies today, but there are a plethora of cases looking at different angles. So please take a look at the publication. This morning we heard from Accra, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly in Ghana, and we heard from the city of Nagpur in India. Fascinating approaches that they've taken there. And now my wrap-up slide. We have a lot of interesting recommendations for stakeholders, but let's just take a step back and think, what are the most important per stakeholder? So we're looking for leadership at the national level. That's where you can establish ambitious targets, integrate your policies across the different levels of governance, and also develop robust roadmaps. Take a look at the GABC website. There are very interesting examples of national roadmaps that show what that actually means to help move forward at an in-country space. Looking at the subnational governments with whom ICLA is working, we do need to have a better understanding of the local needs. And there you can set targets for decarbonization, for enhancing resilience and adaptation. But this is especially the space where you have integrated urban planning moving. That is the role of a local government. So this is where you can think more strategically and cohesively for your whole territory. And again, bring those vertically and horizontally aligned strategies together. A call on all financial institutions. We really encourage you to listen, go into listening mode when our subnational governments are telling you what needs to be financed. Help us find and develop innovative financing mechanisms, and let's look at ensuring stable intergovernmental fiscal transfers. Finance must flow in order to renovate and to build those new buildings and the massive amount of new buildings needed. The private sector, we depend on them for innovation and also making sure that looking at the whole life of carbon assessments and to drive demand across supply chains. That's a really important role, which we will also hear a bit more about today. And other stakeholders, such as NGOs, development agencies, are essential to help build capacity to foster those partnerships and to help co-design at the community level as well. Now, you've heard from sort of zooming in, zooming out. I'm zooming out again. Several global initiatives are supporting multi-level governance. You've heard briefly mentioned on CHAMP, the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships. This is where national governments commit to step up the level of ambition of their climate targets in their NDCs, and to bring subnational governments and have a better space for collaborating. And I would also like to zoom in on the Declaration de Charlotte, which also has helped push this space forward. So please do take a look at all of these as well, and what the different angles and impulses they give to us. We have a number of references in the material. These are some highlights that we want to show to you, but I wrap up here and thank you. Back to Malia.
Thank you very much, Marieke, for this thorough presentation. I will now kindly invite Ryan McHenry from NeoEco, who is going to explain the Paris example. Thank you.
Very thankful, very honored that you would like NeoEco to speak a little bit about the work that we've been doing with Paris. I think it bridges a lot of these different topics that you're talking about in terms of multi-level coordination, bringing social equity, climate finance, and circularity and environmental impact. So we're going to talk specifically about our work in Paris. We do work around the world, but this is one of our own case studies that we're especially proud of. So what is the Grand Paris Express? It's one of Europe's largest infrastructure projects. It's an enlargement of the metro system, which is basically doubling its capacity to serve not just central Paris, but connecting larger regions from the greater Paris region. So this involves the construction of 200 kilometers of new metro lines. That's huge. 68 new metro stations, 1 million square meters of real estate development, and the budget is about 40 billion euros. So it's not a small effort at all. Now, any large infrastructure project is going to generate a lot of waste. So if you think about 200 kilometers of new tunnels, that's going to generate a lot of excavations, for example. This is over 50 million tons of excavations and building demolitions, where they're going to be getting rid of existing buildings to build those 68 new metro stations. So when the tunnel boring was taking place, it was up to about 2,000 tons of excavations per day that were coming out of these tunnels at different points around the city. So it's this large undertaking. And so Paris decided to approach this project with sustainability in mind right from the beginning. And their sustainability goals were as ambitious as the project itself. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to build upon the Charter for Circular Construction that they had signed and co-developed actually with NeoEco and what we published in 2022. And we wanted to build upon this and really turn it into action, boots on the ground, real results. So this charter basically served as a framework for public and private sector commitments, as well as a catalog of solutions to ensure sustainability as the region develops. So this framework that we were working on over a long period of time was then operationalized and turned into actual on-the-ground results. And there were over 50 signatories to it. So what was the process? Our team, since NeoEco is an engineering bureau and a venture builder, our team rolled up their sleeves, got their feet wet, and basically went to work going to different locations around the city to collect soil samples from where these excavations were going to take place, and also samples from the buildings, from concrete, from the buildings that were going to be demolished. Taking these samples back to our laboratory, we were able to analyze them and figure out exactly the sediments and the components that were used, either in the concrete formulations of the buildings that were going to be demolished, or the components of the soil and the earth that was going to be excavated. So you can see a couple photos here, one of our team members taking those soil samples, and then some other photos from our lab where we're subjecting them to a lot of different kinds of tests just to figure out, hey, what is this made of? What can we do with it? And then making sure that anything that we do in terms of using these materials in new construction would be strong enough to be within code, within all the building regulations. So doing this, we actually came up with 80 different eco materials that could be created by breaking down, separating, and preparing all of these sediments across the building deconstructions and the excavations. So you can see that what we do is we typically start off with characterizing the lithology of these excavations. And so without going into too much detail, it's basically figuring out, what sediments are it made of, and understanding kind of the textbook approach to what can be done with those sediments, and then how those sediments can be reformulated into construction materials. So on the right-hand side, you can see some images of different types of things that can be used in concrete formulation, road bases, filling material, filling grout for cavities, and then agronomy, different agricultural aspects. So that's the technical side of the work that we do, but we also want to make sure that everything fits in economically as well. So when we're carrying out our technical feasibility, we're also looking at the costs for everything, the cost of transforming the excavations or the deconstructed material, looking at local market prices for different construction materials. And so when we did that, we then coordinated a public call for companies, local companies that would be interested in carrying out the industrial rollout of this eco-material conversion plan that we came up with. Hey, how do you break down, these excavations into 80 different products? This is how you do it. This is what we think the cost could be. This is what we think the profit could be. And as a result, over 100 companies responded to this call for interest. So it showed very large private sector engagement to what's essentially waste management, which is often seen as just a cost center. Here, we're turning it into a local economic driver where many different companies would see value in participating in this. And the local government would also see value in managing its waste in a really productive way. So what was the outcome? In short, financial and environmental sustainability. So after the cost of all of the transformations, all of the coordination, it led to hundreds of thousands of euros in material cost savings for the project itself. So that's one point. Another point, local companies were able to build out new product lines because now they're learning, there's basically a technology transfer from our engineering bureau to practitioners that are treating waste on a day-to-day basis. Now they're able to basically diversify their services and provide new products on the market. That's another point. Another one, the avoidance of landfill buildup. So those 50 million tons of excavated material and demolished buildings, that's not ending up in landfills where they could be leaching different types of chemicals into local water streams or what have you. Instead, they're being treated and used productively locally. And the end point is actually a very, very interesting point that I want to underline for everybody, is that out of this process, NeoEco is able to develop basically a new process to turn the clay that we found in these excavations into a component of low carbon cement, which can then be used in this project. So this, in close partnership with SGP, which is the public-private partnership carrying out this metro enlargement, we were able to refine our processes and develop a new product, which we actually launched into our own startup. So this led to the creation of NeoSem, which calcines clay or prepares it in a way where it can be mixed with traditional cement, which is highly carbon emissive, and able to lower that CO2 footprint of cement, and then inject the low carbon cement back into the same project. So this is bringing circularity to a whole new level where we've developed a new product that is highly CO2 avoiding, and then re-injecting it back into the same project. So here you can see three photos. You can see a photo of barges that are loading the clay component of these excavations onto a barge, which is then being shipped via canal to our factory, our plant that we've just finished construction on about 30 kilometers north of Paris. And then on the right-hand side, you can see some photos of the transformation of, hey, what does it look like to turn, this clay into cement? This effort has been turned into one of the cornerstones of the project's media engagement. So the sustainability aspect of the metro enlargement has been highlighted, underlined, and widely disseminated throughout press, not just in France, but beyond France. And so this shows also that, hey, doing the right thing can also be profitable. It can also support your project. It can bring extra media attention, and it can really bring extra eyes to what you're trying to do, and do so in a way where, hey, everybody's looking at your project as, a trailblazer around the world, and a point of reference that everybody can look up to. So that's us. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me in the email address listed here. Yeah, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yes, thank you very much, Ryan. Congratulations again. Since I joined the construction sector, I learned that cement can have many, many lives. Yes, so thank you again for showing this great example. Now it looks like we don't have any questions at the moment, so I will pass the floor to Jefferson Maciel, who is going to speak about green buildings in Recife and also climate adaptation plans. Thank you. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Jefferson Maciel, and I'm very grateful for you having me here to talk about this Recife, to share some Recife experience. And in the name of Recife City Hall, of our Mayor João Campos, and also our Environment Secretary Oscar Barreto, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. So first, before I start to share the experiences of green buildings in Recife, I want to contextualize a little bit more Recife in face of climate change. So Recife is a very small city. It has a very small territory located in the Brazilian northeastern coast. 67% of its territory is a floodplain, covered by several rivers, and 23% of its territory is a floodplain, and 67% of its small territory is formed by small hills. That these small hills is formed by not fully consolidated rock. So Recife face the climate change as a very vulnerable city to events of flooding, events of and also events of landslides. So this makes Recife one of the most endangered cities in face of climate change in the entire world. And because of that, Recife City Hall and all of Recife public administrations has taken a lot of has paid a lot of attention to face climate change, improving laws, creating strategies, and also implementing some projects of resilience. I want to share with you some of these experience. The first of them is the construction of Women's Hospital. The Women's Hospital was finished in 2021. And in this hospital, we installed 728 solar panels to produce electricity, renewable electricity to this building. This plant of solar panels produce more or less 40 kilowatts hours per month for this construction, and this represents a reduction of 11,000 tons of greenhouse gas emission per year. So it's a very contribution to this building become a net zero carbon along the time, and in combination with another strategies of environmental solutions to this building, we have probably a path to the net zero carbon in this construction. In this reducing in the emissions of greenhouse gas is equivalent to the planting 50,000 trees in the city. So it's a very huge contribution if just one project, just one solution in the public administration. But right now we are running other projects. One of them that's also very important and also contribute to reduce significantly the emission of greenhouse gas is the called Escola Solar no Grau. I don't know how to translate it for English, but it's more or less like cool solar schools. In this project, the Recife City Hall is installing also solar panels in several public schools of the Recife City. At the moment, we concluded the installation in 40 schools, and these represent more or less 2,000 tons of less greenhouse gas emission in the atmosphere by each school. So it's also is a very large contribution to the reducing the emissions and to conduct the buildings in the city to a net zero carbon path. But we are not acting in the public sphere. We are also regulating or modernizing our laws to improve the way that the private sector can contribute to more resilient and more sustainable buildings in the city. I want to highlight the revising of the land use law of the city. This is a very old law that is right now concluded its revising with a large contribution of this entire society of Recife, from the private sector, from the universities, from the academy in general, from the public sector, from the social movements that contribute to this new law, this new bill that will pass for during the next weeks in the House of Representatives of Recife. This project, in this new bill, there is a new chapter that is a very, very modern innovation in the laws about green buildings in the city. There is a chapter called environmental contribution. It means that for any construction in any new construction in Recife, any new building constructed in Recife, the entrepreneurs can accumulate points by the number of environmental solutions that they present in the building. Some of these solutions includes more vertical gardens, includes rooftop gardens, also include ways to make the soil more natural, include a lot of some other ways of environmental solutions, and together they can bring a set of points to the building, to the construction, to the project, and this project is also can gain more flexibility in another urbanistic parameters. So it's a way to incentive this private sector to make green buildings in the city and to put together the effort to that to the sector, to the public sector. So, but as I said in the beginning of my speech, Recife is a city very, very endangered by the effects of climate change. And so it's a city that requires urgent adaptive measures, urgent adaptive actions to fight the climate change, to fight specifically to fight some effects of climate change. So one of these programs that's also increasing the ways to incorporate more sustainable buildings, also to incorporate more sustainable reorganization of the urban landscape, is called in Recife as Promorar. The Promorar is a program financed by the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank. In this project, we have a plan to make investments in our order of the $400 million. Among the planned actions, the City Hall has concluded a lot of them that are saving people, that are reducing the risk of environmental tragedies, and also that are creating a city more resilient to effects of climate change. And I want to highlight some of these actions that are right now concluded or that concluded most of its parts of the planned actions. The City Hall concluded the construction of 135 slope containment that protected 11,000 families from the risk of the landslide disasters during strong events of raining precipitation in the city. Another contribution from this Promorar program is the relocation of 660 families from areas of high risks of floodings to new social housing building to this family, to protect them, to provide them an environment more secure. And as the last one, I want to highlight the dredging intervention in 3 main rivers in the city that can improve the system, the drainage system of the city to avoid flooding events. Besides that, we also face a lot of problems in the city infrastructure during raining, during these strong raining events that are happening right now because of the climate change effects. So these are all contribution to green buildings. These are contribution to make the city more resilient. But we are aware that we need a lot more work to do before we can construct a city more sustainable and also more efficient to face climate change. But I am also make a warning or call or political leaders from cities with high risk or with high levels of vulnerability to climate change to present opinions about the global solutions to mitigation of the climate change, because I believe that this is the only way to reverse or stop this the space of the global climate change that we are facing right now. So these are the Recife contribution. I hope this can bring some new ideas or some evidence that we are working to provide cities more resilient. And if you have any question, I'm here to answer any one of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jefferson. And yes, this is the mission of the GlobalABC Subnationals Action Group, and to support cities facing facing extreme events due to the climate change. And one of our mission for this year is to recruit champions that will advocate with us the power of multi-level action to fight climate change events. So thank you so much, Jefferson. And yeah, we don't have any questions yet on the chat. we had one question before for Ryan, but it has been answered. So maybe I will leave Marieke to wrap up, give us some concluding remarks. I would like to thank you all very much again. And I will also personally thank Nida for her effort in the report. Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Malia. Well, we've heard some amazing case studies. I think Recife has been doing such fantastic work. Jefferson, I think, I know we've been working on Urban LEDs 1, Urban LEDs 2, which is linked to this lab for nearly 9 years in Recife. And the leadership, I think what I find interesting is the combination of the political leadership, the technical competence, and testing. And a lab is used to innovate and test and pilot. And I really like the fact that you're bringing the sustainability piece and the people piece, the just transition into that work, and doing amazing things. If we look at what Carmen and Gulnara have shared, we're in this very exciting year, 2025. This year can really make or break things as we move towards the COP30, where important decisions will be taken in the climate negotiations. And this publication addresses explicitly that. We hope that you can also bring this to your national governments to say, please look at these sectoral approaches that we recommend that you bring into the NDCs to step up the level of ambition, because with your subnationals who are already ambitious, you can probably actually raise your level of ambition in terms of carbon, all emissions reduction, also looking at air quality, health, and the different socioeconomic aspects that impact your citizens, as well as make it exciting for businesses to work in your country, in your territory. So the road to COP30 is important. In June, the national governments will convene here in Bonn at the climate negotiations during the SB62. That's sort of one step in the road. And we will also be presenting this report to the national delegations here in Bonn, working closely with the UNEP, UN Habitat colleagues, and of course the GIZ colleagues as well. So I think there's good possibility to get this message back to the national government, but also share it with your colleagues, your partners in civil society, your partners in the business space. We do need to step up collectively. Not a single organization or country can do everything that needs to be done. We will continue with those conversations with the financing institutions. They need to be more on board, not seeing sustainable building and construction as a risk, but rather actually as a non-risky approach, which has so many co-benefits to everybody. I was very excited to hear about the Neo-Eco experience. I think this is exactly what we're looking for, innovation by a company developing new products like the low carbon cement approach, recycling the masses of waste that come from those tunnels that are being dug. I think this is exciting to see that we have companies that are also pushing the boundaries, and we need more brave companies. I think we need more brave people in principle. So do work with us collectively. Take a look at the report. I think it's really a nice read. We've tried to make it as easily readable as possible, and share the message. We can look and bring more local innovations to bring global change. We need to urgently focus on decarbonization. Emissions have to be reduced. But this also has health benefits and economic benefits. So it's not just pushing for emissions reduction for the sake of that, which is needed to save the planet, but it also has a value for all of us as individuals, your families, the places you work with. Stepping up resilience is the angle that we typically forget. Adaptation and resilience need to go hand in hand with mitigation and access to energy, helping the just transition and the equitable societies piece can be easily embedded in all of these work and the projects and the activities that we're collectively doing. So again, the potential is there. Please go home, think about these messages and think how you bring them in your daily work. We look forward to keeping in touch with you. Take a look at the GlobalABC website. There are fantastic resources there. But also take a look at the work that we're going to do with the GlobalABC subnational piece, where we're going to continue looking at all these interesting topics. Thank you so much for joining us and wishing you a wonderful rest of the day. Keep well.